And welcome back. I think we're going to do a why don't they just maybe or
why
something.
don't they just maybe?
Yeah, Joe, you got some hot why don't they just
works for me.
today?
I got two why don't they justices.
Oh, why don't they justices?
It's about the Supreme Court. Why don't they justices? Terrible. Okay. So this is from Alan Benton. He says, why don't they just use cameras to track where the drivers are looking to train autopilot? This could be via the built-in camera or maybe even a simulator instead. This could help the software to learn where to look for signage or road markings.
Oh, I didn't see the last part. Okay, yeah.
Isn't somebody already doing this?
Yes.
This sounds familiar.
Yep.
Maybe it's the NSA.
Done did it.
I'll start because this is not really my domain. I think they could do that, but at the same time, I think the cameras are seeing everything anyway. So I don't know if there's anything to really defer from the human eyes or human glances that would actually help AI understand more about how to drive, other than just learning like, okay, this sign therefore corresponded to this speed. This sign made the line markings go like this. This sign did this. Like, I don't think humans are a very good driver in the first place. And if you're just staring over at someone's, truck testicles or something, like I don't think that's going to defer to the AI what was happening or whatever in that situation. So I don't know if that's necessarily the best marker or best thing to be looking at, but I think it could be valuable for some things. I think it's more valuable as far as when we're in this in-between stage, knowing whether or not you're paying attention. Maybe
that's what I'm thinking of. I think maybe it was the Cadillac system had eye tracking to make sure you were watching the road or something.
Yeah, it's called Super Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have cameras facing. I think the cameras are either in the binnacle dash or they're in the steering wheel, and there's like a green LED light in the steering wheel that kind of indicates, are you looking or are you not looking?
Huh.
And I think I saw Consumer Reports or Edmunds or somebody test it, and they like put sunglasses on and it still worked, kind of a thing. Yeah, it's an interesting idea for sure. The idea of using a human's eyes to train the algorithms to know where to look, like that's actually a really interesting idea, because there are so many little intuitive things that we look a certain way or we look at a certain thing, and then that changes our behavior slightly. But kind of to your point, Tim, I think it would probably be like too much noise. You'd see the something, a person crossing the road that has a funny hat on or something, and you would look at that, and then the algorithm like would
latch onto that.
Try like, oh, whenever there's a person with a funny hat, do this. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? It wouldn't.
They turned on the radio or like something like totally irrelevant to the situation.
Like, there's going to be a lot of noise there. It's going to be a lot of false positives, a lot of things saying, oh, when you saw that, do this, but that's not what you wanted to do. The harder part,
it calls
of
your
course,
significant other anytime you drive past like a store or something with goodies, like an ice cream shop or something. Like,
yeah,
you're just, it's like it sees that you're like looking at the ice cream thing, and then you're like, oh honey, do you want ice cream? And pull in, so it just assumes that, oh, ice cream shop, I'll call the number one contact or whatever.
Yeah. It's a weird. There could be a lot of weird outcomes of that. I mean, the harder bits are, and this is coming from my friends that are in this space, trying to figure out, like, is that a paper bag or is that a rock? Is that like a boulder I'm gonna hit and I have to avoid, or is it a paper bag that I can just run over? That's gotta be hard. Right. Or is that just a little bit of water on the road, or is that a lake I'm about to drive into?
Right.
Because that may look very similar just from a computer vision standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe there's something to be learned there, but it sounds to my thought would be that there'd be so much noise that it would be hard. It wouldn't be of much value, is my guess.
Well, and it would be tracking some dude like staring at some girl jogging in spandex in the sidewalk, and
right.
So the car would start looking out for that. I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
I think as humans we're pretty distracted, and wouldn't that just kind of make the car distracted?
Yeah, I don't want it learning our tendencies. I want to start fresh.
Be better than us.
Yeah.
The car just keeps checking its Instagram the whole time it's driving.
You see the screen just it takes over with like
The navigation disappears. It's just like scrolling.
It starts cursing out other drivers over the stereo when it gets cut off and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we got another. Why don't they? Why don't they just?
Justices.
And this is from Wolfgang! Exclamation point. Says Starship will be uncomfortable for long duration space flight. I guess we're talking about going to Mars. Why don't they just install a giant inflatable habitat to open for the majority of the flight? So why not put like a Bigelow expandable thing to just kind of like bubble up and give them extra space?
Let's go Ben, Joe, me. Ben.
Will it be uncomfortable? I mean, I don't know if you're floating without gravity, how comfortable or uncomfortable can something be in terms of the ship that you're floating in, other than maybe the space? Oh, okay, maybe that's what he's talking about. Like, it won't be as comfortable as a bigger space. Which I'm still, I forget, we talked about it before. Like, is it true you could get trapped if it's too big, just floating around in the middle? Because you like can't, there's no, like you have to like take your shirt off and like throw it the opposite direction you want to go, or try to like, you could get stuck if it's too big. I don't know.
There's gotta be a term for that.
Yeah, right. That was like a risk if the thing is too large, is that you wouldn't be able to, you could literally just be floating around like for eternity or until someone came and saved you. I don't imagine you'd be there by yourself though. So yeah, that's a hard one. I don't know. I don't imagine it being that uncomfortable, but why don't they just install, maybe that's because it's more work, more delta V, it's more weight, it's maybe more things that can go wrong. And if you're going to Mars, comfort on the ship is probably very low on the priority list, as opposed to like radiation giving you cancer or something. So yeah, that's where my head's at. Joe, what do you think?
So, Tim, do you happen to know how wide Skylab was?
7 meters wide, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Starship is 9.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just thinking, like, you've seen the footage of inside of Skylab. Like, there still has not been anything with that kind of volume since, right?
Right.
That astronauts have been in anyway.
Right. Not, at least, like, not contiguous, where it's like, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, kind of to Ben's point, I feel like it's hard to fully appreciate how much more space there is when you're in space because of weightlessness. Like, you're not like, I was thinking about my house, I think, is like 2,300 cubic feet for whatever, or not, I'm sorry, square feet. But square feet and cubic feet are totally different things. And I mean, like, I sit here in this room, like, if I could be in that corner over there or that corner or just sit right there, like, there's all this space that's not being used that you totally can use.
Triples almost, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it'll be more comfortable than we think it will be. But in terms of like this particular idea, I mean, I like the idea of inflatable habitats. I was a fan of Bigelow. I'm imagining it would still be something like, even collapsed down, it would be too big to like stuff inside of the Starship. It would have to like be added on in space later on. Like, I'm not sure how that would work, but what do you think, Tim?
I'm pretty much on board with both of you guys. I'll share my screen real quick while I'm talking about this, because this is a weird astronaut that they intentionally just let float in the very middle of the Kaibo ISS module.
That's a pretty good module.
He's trying. So the video is it's titled "Astronaut Gets Stuck in the Kibo ISS Model." So he's just trying to like reach a surface, and he is just it's space. So there is a little bit of air resistance that he can work with. Very little, so he can kind of swim a little bit. But for the most part, each action has an equal and opposite reaction. So he's flailing around trying to just get back to one of the walls. And he's really having a hard time doing it until here he finally gets close enough. It's pretty fascinating to watch. Definitely check it out.
So you could, so you wouldn't be stuck there forever because there is air. and
Right.
It's like a good workout.
But if it were big enough, it could take you hours.
It could be very hard to do. Yeah. So the point being, kind of like you guys were saying, right now the International Space Station is about the same volume as like a 747. And the ISS is kind of a jumbled mess, lots of extra instrumentations and things that are not necessarily creature comfort, right? The Starship has at least that much volume too, pressurized habitable volume, or at least pressurizable volume. So I don't, if you stuffed it full of 100 people, you'd probably be stepping on each other's toes. But I'm guessing a lot of the missions to Mars, at least the first ones that are going to be on a 9-meter wide vehicle, will be a dozen people maybe, where that would be, imagine having only 12 people on a 747. That would be nothing. That'd be
Is that how many
spacious.
people, like 12 astronauts going to Mars for the very first humans? That seems like a lot, man. I guess you need that
it's
many
supposed to be
people.
more than that, right?
I mean,
really?
We really have I don't know. There's really never been anything declared of like, we will have this number of people.
Yeah.
I would guess you'd want more than 4 or 5 because, you want a population enough. There's diversity of conversation and things, otherwise 4 people just sitting in a thing for 2 years would drive you absolutely
and
insane.
there's going to be a lot to do when you get there. So you're going to need a whole bunch of people to, I mean, you're literally colonizing. You're not just landing and
With
taking
that many
off
people,
again.
are we worried that they'll leave one behind?
Yes, and the Martian will become true. But yeah, I think kind of to everyone's point, I don't know if it's necessary for the first Starship missions won't be as luxurious. They won't be as spacious, but 1,000 cubic meters of volume is a lot for a lot of people. That's more than what I think, you'd really expect. I just don't think it's necessary to add an inflatable module, but if they did, they could always have something where it's like a hatch, because it would need to be able to, if it's to be reusable or, used in space, but also landing and re-entering, it would have to be able to inflate out and then come back in through a hatch and be closed up and be covered up for re-entry. I mean, you could do something like that. I just don't know how necessary it'd be. I think it's adding more systems and more parts and more potential for failure, when really the simplest solution is actually just to make a bigger Starship as you send more people. Starship is so easy to scale up. Once they have this whole thing figured out, 9 meters is literally just the beginning. You
could always flare out, couldn't you?
You can go as big as you want.
Compartment, yeah.
I mean, the whole thing can be huge. The whole, there's talks of 18-meter wide Starships.
Oh my God.
Why not? It's just rings, sheets of rings. You just make them wider. And you put more engines under them.
I'm just trying to think of how big 18 meters is.
It's
like 50
I mean,
feet?
it'd be 60 feet wide.
60 feet? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be huge. I mean, but why not? Like, what challenge really is there besides just scaling everything else up with it? That's kind of the beauty of Starship and using stainless steel, is it can just kind of, do whatever we need.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this clip from our show. If that's just not enough for you and you want to watch the full episode, you can go to olfpod.com/YT.
And if you want more from us, you can consider becoming a Patreon member. You'll get early access to episodes. You can join our awesome community. You can actually watch us record live and get your name in the credits by going to olfpod.com/Patreon.
So thanks everyone for watching. Check back every Friday for new clips here and new episodes on the main channel.
Thanks, everybody.